Thank you so much. This is not my normal venue. I'm usually the convener. I'm rarely the one in the front. And I've had the great pleasure of introducing Richard many times over the years. And today we're going to share a story, the 9 steps to collaboration, a case study of government and public engagement. However, that's just part of what we're going to be talking about today. First, I'd like to bring Elder Marianne, to join me. And the reason is that she is here, and an elder. And I'm very honored to have you here, to travel 40 hours to be with us. And so to make transparent, to make real what it means to be an elder in the world. And part of what in my culture, in my indigenous culture, is a part of being an elder is to hold the whole, hold the space, and listening to the story that was told. She does this exquisitely. Another part of being an elder, and it's not age, it's a state of being, is to bless people. And I felt her blessings yesterday. And I felt that she holds that quite well. So those of us that relate to being elders know that part of our role in the world is to bless, to hold people in their magnificence, to hold each person as whole beings is perfect. So thank you for being with me. A few things that I'd like to do before we get started. One is a poem. And I'd like to read the poem In the Midst of Beauty. And these are some photographs that I took on my land. And I live on a lake in Minneapolis called Bede Makaska, which is Dakota for Lake Calhoun, or White Earth Lake. And it's Center City, Minneapolis. And these are sunrises that I'll be showing during this poem. In poetry, the language of the soul. So we begin with the soul. We begin with the soul. So I ask you to sit in the gesture of receiving this from William Stafford to your soul. Starting here, what do you want to remember? How sunlight creeps along a shining floor? What scent of old wood hovers? What softened sound from outside fills the air? Will you ever bring better gift for the world than the breathing respect that you carry wherever you go right now? Are you waiting for time to show you some better thoughts? When you turn around, starting here, with this new glimpse that you found, carry it into the evening, all that you want from this day. The interval you spent reading or hearing this, keep it for life. What can anyone give you greater than now? Starting here, right in this room, when you turn around. William Stafford, a wonderful American poet, His poetry is astounding. Bide Makaska, my land, my place, where I live. So the storyline for today will be the uncovering of the Crucible. Kind of a journey song. In some cultures, the journey song is a song that we sing along our own journey, or a Genesis story. And we all have them. We all have our own Genesis story. Where did we come from? Who are our key influencers? What is the ego and the soul space that we've occupied along this journey? Safe space for authentic conversations. People ahead of me really talked about that in a wonderful conversation about politics, about social issues in Sweden. Convening Leaders, something that I've been doing now for 30 years. And the technology of relationships, or as my good friend Peter Block says, the structure of belonging. The structure of belonging. Isn't that sweet? Isn't that sweet? The structure of belonging. And then the utility and transformation. Actually, it's transition, but in transformation as well. And then tools for collaborating. Then the results, collaboration, culture for transformation, and then finally we'll wrap it up. So that's kind of what we'll be walking through in the next 40 minutes or so. But before that, what I'd like to do is a practice called stringing the beads. And Richard got a pretty heavy dose of this on our men's wilderness journey. And so, what I'd like to do is hear all the voices. I'd love to hear your voice. I've talked to some of you, but it's a practice. And if you notice the metaphor, stringing the beads, what does that mean? So quickly, what it means is that each and every one of us has come here today as a beautiful one-of-a-kind bead. There's never been one like you before, never will be, and not now. We are all individual. Our DNA is so unique and beautiful. And yet we come together to create wholeness. Right? Wholeness. A bracelet, a necklace, some sort of beautiful wholeness that we create together. So here is what we're going to do. We're going to pass around this rose, and each person has an opportunity to speak. So, if we're all unique beads, one-of-a-kind beads, one of the attributes of a bead that all beads have is that it has a hole through it, or it wouldn't be a bead, right? And what is the purpose of a bead? The bead is to be joined with others to create wholeness. So using our voices as the thread, we put the thread through the bead. So I'm going to start here with Jay. And I'm going to ask everybody very, very, using brevity, one word, that reflects your current condition or your current state of being right now. So your name, your first name, your word, and then pass this rose. I guess, we'll use the mic. Great. So I'm going to ask you to stand up, say your name, and one word that gives reflection to your current state of being or your condition. Okay?
J. Joy.
Phil. Present. 4. Love. Anders. Curious.
Lina. Love.
Martin. Hyper-energetic.
Amy. Open.
Hendrik. Connected.
Michael. Nervous.
Andrea. Peace.
Nick. Alive.
Ella. Grounding.
Chuck allowing.
Rory elderly.
Javi connecting.
Ready, receiving.
Karen, by myself.
Matthew, energetic.
Michelle, grateful.
Joel, reverent.
Nighttime, gratitude. Patty, grateful. Jana, extended. Jose, quiet. Marie, simply. Vivian, gratitude. Chloe, surrender, kenosis. Anya, flow.
Roland, joy.
Monica, no word. Heike, inspired. Joanne, receiving. Lynn, gratitude.
Luke aligned.
Lynn, allowing. Lisa, evolving. Kirsten, thank you. Thankful.
Peter, passionate.
Veronique, surprised.
Philip, peaceful.
Louise, intrigued. Lily, absorbing. Tara, fulfilled. Sandy, still.
Mario, transformation.
Laurence, touched.
Mario, joy.
Abby, moved.
Franz, humble. Dave, connected. Graham, tearful. John, peace.
Karen, I am.
Mary, aware. Claire, hopeful. Danae, jazzed. Pam, trusting.
Alan, awake.
Bridget, together. Sarah, reflective. Lanya, excited. Kathleen, questioning.
Hubert, opening.
Allison, inspired.
Adolfo, oneness. Pete, relaxed.
Linka, playful. Elsa, grace. Dominique, miigwech. Roman, grateful. Renew, love. Beth, energized. Joanne, open. Carol, expanding. Carolyn, connecting.
Bill, changer.
and happy.
Jim, intimacy. Georgia, exploring. Carol, abundance.
Fierce, faith.
Alex, family. Penny, reflective.
Khalid, hope.
Marwan, grateful.
Jim, allowing. Calm, resonance. Calm, listening.
Prabmeet, alchemy.
Sujitra, moved.
Ken, inspired.
Martin, magic.
Lorella, potential. Miran, beauty.
Andrea, thankful. Ruth, expectant.
Bill, integrating.
Patrick, yes.
Anne, grateful. Franz, hopeful.
Jacinthe, présent. Renata, curious. Shweta, shifting.
Alan, learning.
Men, not knowing.
Carolina, grateful.
Allison, vibrant.
Annalise, stillness.
Oliver,
Danny, reflective.
Lawrence, heaven on earth. Thank you. Thank you. Michael.
Michael, enchanting.
Over there.
Ariane, serenity.
Thank you. So why did I do that? Why did I take the time, my precious time, from what I could be talking about? One of the principles in our work is hearing all the voices. Hearing all the voices. Listening. Could also call our work the art of listening. So what did you hear? What I heard was grateful, love, beauty. I heard a song, this journey song of your own, which is your present condition. What if you were just present all the time? What if we were just in love all the time? So here's a bit of my journey song. I was 17 years old, 1963 in August, and I went to the March on Washington, and it changed my life. Actually, it transformed my life. I was never the same. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know where I would go from there. But I knew that going into my senior year of high school, having stood 150 feet away from Martin Luther King on that day, that my life would forever change. I was a part of a movement at that time called the Back to the Land movement, and I'm sure some of you here, some of you that are silver hairs, remember that period. There's a new book out called We Are as Gods, which was the opening line from the Whole Earth Catalog, and some of you may remember the Whole Earth Catalog. It was a field guide to the new society, if you will. I took it very seriously. I felt kind of like Forrest Gump during that period. Was showing up at all of the seminal events of that time, from People's Park to the March on Washington, Love-ins, Be-ins, etc. What did I learn? I learned that what we were about, what it meant to be a hippie, was to see things whole. To see things whole and to experience wholeness. That's what I got out of it. And so it set me on a path that brought me to a life of service. Because that's what I realized back there on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, was that life is about service. That's what my life would be about. So, the crucible. We all live in these crucibles in our life. We live in times when we heard from Anders and Lena about the crucible of in Sweden. Who are the influencers in our life that help us through these times? This is my family, my son Alec on top, my youngest son Alec, who has created an opportunity for my wife, who you see with me, to really experience something new, trauma in our lives. Deep, deep, deep trauma. Something that is a part of a crucible. And my beloved wife, Patricia, who's been my life partner now for 38 years, my business partner, and my fellow traveler, that knowing our values, our intrinsic values, have assisted us in growing the space for creating essential conversations. These difficult conversations, the conversations that Anders and Lena were talking about in Sweden, they're happening all over the world. They're happening in the U.S. Look at what's happening with the political dialogue right now. Look at what's happening in the Middle East. Look what's happening around the world. We have this magnificent opportunity before us. And you got a piece of that in Sweden. But you are the creators of that opportunity. So when I landed here, I really didn't know who I would be talking to, really. I mean, I've known Richard, as he said, for a long time, and I knew a few of you and been on some of the previous calls, but I really didn't know the depths to which you are called to be of service, the depths to which you are committed to transformation. So I am honored to be before you. So this practice of convening leaders in essential conversations, that's what we call it. So when we started Heartland back in 1995, we started with a vision, and the vision is that leaders, anyone who wants to step forward to make a difference in these times, are the conduit, and our organizations the delivery system through which a global renaissance would occur. And now we say the only difference 20 years later is that that renaissance is occurring. Yes, it's here. We're in it. We're in that renaissance. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it, but we are. Look at you. Look at how your lives have been transformed over the years. So we are, in fact, in that. So we started in 1998, we started the first thought leader gatherings, and we brought together leaders from different sectors in business and government, nonprofits, education, to dialogue around the compelling issues that face us in our life, in our work, our inner transformation and our outer transformation with our organizations, and that was the seed conversation. So 18 years later, we're still doing it. We just call it now the Transformational Leaders Collaboratory. And I'll be talking about that this afternoon in the workshop. The evolution of the TLC. Every other month for 18 years, Richard has been one of our speakers, or as we call them, conversation starters. Because what we do is think TED Talk with a deep dive. So we invert the TED Talk. Conversation starter are people who are come to share their information, but the real juice is the conversation amongst the attendees. And then we started the Art of Convening in 2004. before, I went away to write a book. And what happened out of that was a training. So over the years, I've trained about 500 or 600 people in the art of convening. And we do coaching and consulting as well. This is our book. And it's a tool, like any book. It's got a model called the 9 aspects of the convening wheel. We'll go into that in a little bit. But what's really important is that we create the space for people to show up fully, to be present and accounted for as you were. That simple exercise, why did I ask you to say your name? Why did I do that? Energetically, what you're doing is you're stepping forward and saying, I am Craig, I am here and now, I am accounted for. Thank you. And these are my words. Right? Simple practice stringing the beads. It's found in every culture. I've learned it in Africa on a men's trip. South in the US, it's practiced with indigenous people as well. But it's so simple. So the art of convening. People want to take a deep dive. We want to take a deep dive. Your clients do. Everybody wants to speak in an essential voice. In an essential voice. What is ours to share? What is it that we really care about? What is it that really has the deeper meaning for us? So, this is a utility in transition. We were approached by the general manager of a utility in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis, that's where I'm from, or Minnesota, where I'm from. And this is a rather large regional government, about 11,000 employees. And we were approached by one of the general managers of the 4 divisions. I sat in on Sam's presentation with the Ontario Public Service, I believe. I was very inspired, by the way, Sam. A lot of parallels to what we're working on. So I'm going to tell you a very brief story about that. We were called in because their new commissioner said one of the 4 key principles is collaboration, because we're doing a lousy job of that with our stakeholders, with the public, with the municipalities, of which there are 127. We're doing not a great job of being able to communicate. And so it was very much an outer-oriented mandate. So wanted to look for, and so we created this for them. To create resonance, to build trust and transparency, to build convening skills, to collaborate. It's interesting. I've heard that word bandied about. If you look inside in your room and you look in your folder, the gentleman that bought this place is really into collaboration, big time. The founder of Boston Scientific. What is collaboration? I mean, if I went around this room, I'd probably get 100 different takes on it. They had no idea what collaboration meant. Usually it meant to get them to understand what we're talking about. And then, and then we'll move on from there. That was their idea of collaboration. So we wanted to review internal practices, assess stakeholder relations. But more than anything, when we got down to the granular level inside, what people were saying to me at the leadership level is, how the heck do I get people to stop yelling at me? Oh my God. So I thought, how do we do that? How do we create the opportunity to shift from that level of discourse, from that conflict, that friction that you're talking about? That fire, we use the campfire metaphor ourselves, in the fire. So how do we be in the fire in a civil way? How do we create the space, the safe space to be able to do that? So these are the 3 steps that we took, and they're very brief. We initiated collaborative culture change. We took 32 leaders, or actually 18 key leaders, and they went through the art of convening training. And this was a substantive training. And then we took that and we applied it in their meetings and their gatherings. And what they learned from that was that it wasn't an outer manifestation. In other words, how do we change them? What we began to realize is that transformation, like Peter Block says, is an inside game. It's not how do I transform them, it's how do I transform myself. What an amazing realization that we had. People started to say, I'm the key to this. I'm the one. And then we started to take that attitude out into the world with some key practices, of course. And overnight, their relationships started to change within a STEM culture. Science, technology, engineering, and math, that's their culture. Very analytical culture. Heavy on the scientists, heavy on the engineers. These are not people that are used to a lot of reflection. Then we embedded the practices by practicing creating peer groups, creating coaching. Did a lot of coaching. We did co-coaching, and then finally, to expand that, we created a system-wide, what we call a collaboration network, where each session there is a conversation starter that brings a case study. They work the case study from the perspective of the art of convening. So what is the art of convening? Really, it's a roadmap, a granular roadmap of how do we be together. Really, what do our meetings look like? So the title of the book is The Art of Convening, Authentic Engagement in Meetings, Gatherings, and Conversations. So each one of you should have with you a handout with the convening wheel. So I'm going to take you on a very, very quick trip around the wheel. Purpose, the heart of the matter, the heart, the raison d'etre, right? What is the purpose of why we're together? Then we go into more the intellectual, the combination of the head and the heart, the intention. Who are we going to be together and what will we do? This is where we develop the agenda, or we develop the design for what we're going to do together. And then we send out the invitation, a wonderful, sincere offering that combines the purpose and the intent so people know why they should be there. And then when we're together, we create the context. We remind them why we're there, what's the form, the function, and the purpose of why we're together. So the articulation of that. None of this, you're all doing this, I'm sure, already. And then we do creating the container. And this is something a lot of people forget. Look at this beautiful container that we're creating. Elder Marianne here, Michael here. Notice what we're doing. Notice how we're sitting. But also, what are the agreements? What are the norms, the cultural norms that really help us to create the safe space that we're in? Confidentiality, turn off your screens, etc., so that we're really clear about why we're there. Really helps to create the safe space in which we're going to be. Then hearing all the voices. Each voice is heard, each voice is counted, present and accounted for. So those first 6 are really the preparation. So those are the inner preparation. Along with it comes the inner reflection. So this is a wheel that encompasses the inner considerations of the convener, you, with the outer manifestation of what you're going to do in that engagement or that meeting, right? So it's a both and. There's an inner wheel that's going all the time, that is you, and the outer wheel, which is perhaps the practices, all the things that we do. All the arrows in the quiver. And we each have hundreds or maybe thousands of arrows that we can pull out at any time. And the last 3, essential conversation, once we've created the container for mutual trust and respect, we can begin to create. This is where Anders and Leah are moving toward that in their dialogues. You said thousands of dialogues. This is the possibility of dialogue, is this essential conversation. To me, this is an idealistic, right? So if we do what we do in the proper preparation and who we are with being and doing, we reach the state of mutual trust and respect that then goes to creation. Creation. We're allowed now to create. What's new? What's new that's inspiring? Lance was just a mind blower. Oh my Lord. talking about inspiration. How do we inspire ourselves through creation? If we've created this space of mutual trust and respect, then do we create together what's new? This is where facilitation comes in, because you have to be incredibly present to see it, to pull it out. Yesterday, we had some really great facilitators. I was watching you. You were fantastic. So this is where facilitation comes in. To be able to name it, to be able to pull it out, so that when you get to the last one, the commitment to action, do you really have accountability? Do you have an alignment? Do you have a responsibility to a collective way forward? So, simple. And then you start all over again. That's why it's a wheel and not a linear progression. And you go in and you go out. So you see yourself in different places all the time, you know? All of a sudden, people are heading south on you. And you go, oh, well, maybe I have to go back and set some more context. Maybe I have to hear all the voices again. That contrarian in the back, they haven't been heard. They have to be heard. So, how's my time? I can't see that. 5, okay. So the results. Collaboration, culture change for transformation. This organization, this is one of their agendas. The graphic literally is one of their agendas. And on the right-hand side, now remember, these are all engineers and scientists. This is an agenda, and what they do on the right-hand side is they put in a table and they say, well, this is what we're going to do. But that's really what they're doing. So I pull that out. That is a template for each one of their meetings at the Collaboration Network, and it's being used more and more internally. They're seeing life as a journey. They're seeing their stakeholders not just as others. They're seeing them as partners, collaborators. They're seeing them as intricately a part of the interdependent wheel of life. They get that they're interdependent. What an incredible concept, that we move from separation to interdependent, that we are in fact these unique, beautiful beings going through our lives with our journeys, and yet we are one. The paradox of being one, alone together. Alone together. And they're beginning to see that, and it's just wonderful to work with them. We've been with them now for 3 years. So we've had the honor of being able to go through this in the initial, and then the embedding, and then the extension of that work. Our next step is to really bring it to the other 3 areas. And that's the story that I would like to tell when I come back the next time. How do we do that? How do we create the opportunities? So this is a bit of makes my heart proud. Not just my ego, well, yeah, that's good too, but it's my soul. It's my soul that really is, when she says, in contrast to other leadership training initiatives, the model and convening has been embraced by staff. That's all the way down the line. People are talking in different ways to one another. They're patient. They're listening to one another. They're taking the time to say their names and to speak from a place. When we began today, the discomfort of listening and spending 10 minutes to hear everybody in the room, I understand. It can be uncomfortable. But if there's anything that I leave with you today, it's how do we deeply, deeply listen? How do we take what Joel and Michelle and others, this sense of mindfulness, what is it all about? It's all about being present. It's all about being in love. Being in love. Being that. Love in action in the world. Now, I wasn't going to say that until I realized who the hell I'm with here. And I could say it, you know? I mean, we don't all go out and, but There's a safe space here to do this work. So thank you so much.